To Pimp A Butterfly is undoubtedly one of the greatest albums ever created. It is an epic that analyzes so much on so many levels. It covers themes that are deeply rooted in the black community, but also goes further to cover topics that can be relatable by anyone on a human level. It analyzed the state and the current state of affairs in the United States and countries like the USA where there are oppressive elements. It analyzes the individual in relation to many things. And in this particular video, we are going to look at the analysis of the individual, particularly in regards to fame. This is one of the biggest themes explored in To Pimp A Butterfly. In various songs, Kendrick touches on many angles of this issue. Kendrick looks at the effects it has on the individual, those around that person, the obstacles one has to weather when they reach that fame, and makes the canny point that fame and fortune is not the end-all, be-all. If you like analytical videos on the deeper meaning of hip-hop culture and art, and its connection in relation to other mediums, then subscribe and stay tuned for more videos like this. Throughout To Pimp A Butterfly, Kendrick has lines and moments that showcase how fame, something that many of us seek, isn't all positive on the soul when one finally achieves it. In songs such as the opening track, Wesley's Theory, Kendrick stops momentarily to let Dr. Dre speak, where he says,
"Yo, what's up? It's Dre. Remember the first time you came out to the house? You said you wanted a spot like mine. But remember, anybody can get it. The hard part is keeping it, motherfucker."
In this line, Dr. Dre brings to the attention of the listener in the opening track that although Kendrick has reached this level of notoriety and glory, it is not all sunshine and rainbows from here on out. Despite the hard work and tribulations Kendrick faced in the past to get to where he is at now, where he has achieved great fame, that was the easy part. And now for him to keep it is the harder part. When one defeats one challenge, another greater one presents itself. And as the album rolls out, we see Kendrick grappling with this truth. As the song continues, we see the first temptation that Kendrick faces, which is an uncontrolled id-like behavior that gets sparked when immense freedom to do so many absurd things present themselves due to the acquisition of wealth. Kendrick wants to act a fool, snatch a little secretary bitch for the homies, buy a brand new caddy on Vogues, trunk the hoods up, 2 times, deuce 4, platinum on everything, platinum on red and ring. These types of behavior is what we see many celebrities partake in when they finally achieve great wealth and fame, especially right after a life of abject poverty. But these practices and carelessness are the main reasons that those stars fall from the grace that they've achieved. As one of the lines mentions Wesley Snipes, who's a world-famous actor that got arrested and convicted on tax evasion, which is tied to this overall bad behavior, one way or another. It is clear from the first track of 16 that Kendrick already has a lot on his plate, and he's just getting started. As the project continues, we see the effects that this type of fame does to others as well. Kendrick came up in the hood and went through many struggles, from facing peer pressure to joining gangs, partaking in robberies, drugs, and so much more. Naturally, Kendrick owes loyalty to those he grows up with, and as he rises, he takes them with him. But as Snoop Dogg says on a song Institutionalized, you can take your boy out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the homie. He takes his homies with him, but those homies haven't grown out of their toxic behaviors, and they start thinking of robbing rich people that they see and meet at fancy events that Kendrick takes them to. Their hood instinct of surviving, of being opportunistic at the expense of others, has not been burnt out of them. Rather, this fame has presented them with fresher, more prospective chances to continue with their bad habits. Later on, we revert back to the individual with songs like You, where Kendrick expresses the stress that he's under and the depression that this causes. Depression bad enough that he starts rambling drunkenly as he drinks from a bottle, no doubt from something good and expensive. He cries as the pressures from back home are pushing on him. In the second verse, Kendrick talks from the perspective of a friend or family member who shames him for not being there for his friend who died, a friend he grew up with. While Kendrick was out getting famous and rich, the problems and demons that he once faced are still being faced by his friends and family. One of his friends gets shot due to a drive-by shooting and dies of complications later on in the hospital. And due to Kendrick touring and being busy, he couldn't even come and visit his own friend. This tears Kendrick Lamar from the inside and turns into Great Depression as he rots with remorse from this fact, as any of us would. Looking from the outside, we can see that Kendrick was not ill in his intent, but in this emotional storm, he will blame himself and see that he came up short. Though Kendrick performs, creates great music, and does whatever he can to bring money in, not only for himself, but for his family and friends and others in his city, he cannot be in all places at once. He must continue to do his job as an artist to provide, and this, ironically, comes in between him and his loved ones who he fights for. All of this culminates into the final point on fame. This point is that fame is not the end-all be-all. So many of us think that the grass is greener on the other side. We all think that as soon as we achieve fame and fortune, that all the problems we once had would melt away. We think that we arrived to the promised land and that we are completely free of all woes. But if anything, Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly proves us all wrong. Kendrick does his best to rise in the music industry, and does just that. But once he does that, more problems showcase themselves. Kendrick becomes too busy and becomes separated from his family and loved ones back home who still face the same problems he once faced. The fame confronts him with great temptations that threaten to break down and destroy all that he's built. And on top of that, he still has to keep the few friends he's been able to take with him under heel, as some of them still seek to create destruction and problems due to the problematic nature that they develop while growing up in the hood. If anything, Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly is a thoughtful dive into fame and how it can have dire consequences for an individual. So many artists and celebrities try to present their problems and woes to common folk, but they get responded with rolling eyes and doubt because most people see that the wealth and connections they have present them with luxuries and opportunities that they could only dream of, and think that their lives are perfect now. To Pimp a Butterfly shows that this is not the case, and it does so earnestly and in a way that very few people can. This gets the message across that fame, glory, fortune, and worldly possessions aren't always enough, if ever. It recalls how Beowulf, after slaying Grendel and achieves the glory that most Vikings seek and becomes king of his own kingdom, still hasn't made it. He still must face Grendel's mother and later on, a dragon. This message transcends into the universal in its own way and shows us that life is always continuous and never ends with the obstacles. Though Kendrick faces these problems, the album isn't nihilistic or hopeless. There are many moments of triumph and Kendrick fighting back to make his way, to make up for his mistake, and to ultimately make things better. We will discuss this part of the album in another video in the future, but for now, we can see that achieving greatness is not the end, but rather the beginning to so much more. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos and analyses just like this. If you see what I'm seeing, or not, let me know in the comment section and why. Thanks.